Forgot to do bets. Oh no. Oops. PvP to start things off. The European Open Cup. What else do you expect? Top left, it is Harstem. Bottom right, it is Krystianer. Krystianer. It's just a fun word to say. It should be a decent PvP. Thing is that a lot of the non-absolute best Protoss players tend to go back and forth in PvPs. So, while both players are very good, I wouldn't consider them to be the top of the Protoss field in Europe, although Harstem really has been performing better and better and getting more and more upsets. That's really cool. And Krystianer always has a chance very steadily in the European regionals, for instance, the top 24, top 32 of Europe. But I'm basically talking about Max Packs and Showtime. Kind of the standouts as far as PvP victors, maybe Skilless in there as well. And then everyone else really it just is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's not like those names I just listed are actually invulnerable. Yeah. Yeah. They are vulnerable to PvP against any other Protoss as well. So it really is a bit of a crapshoot to determine who is going to win. So I'm sure a lot of people will be voting on their favorites, which is generally Harstem, as he is a really cool dude, content creator, constantly out in that public face. Krystianer a little less so, but he has some fun games. He can be as agile and aggressive as the rest, although in this case it looks like he is not going to be the aggressive one. That is Harstem, at least with the proxy pylon. Now, sends the probe away. You can kind of check for either your opposing pylon, your opponent's opposing pylon. There we go. Just getting woken up here, just getting my brain started. And you also might avoid a scout on the probe, staying around the pylon if Krystianer was actually scouting. So waiting until you actually have enough resources to plant down whatever you're going to plant down, which in this case is a robo, it's just the better thing to do. But it is absolutely, intentionally, a one base all-in, something that Krystianer should be wary of. He has not confirmed it, but he does know about that lacking second pylon. So now's the time to either try and find out exactly what it is by sending out more probe scouts, which then hits your economy, which might not be ideal if you are being actually all in, or to just play it safe and assume you are being attacked by something pretty severe. And the most severe thing is going to be a proxy robo. Proxy Stargate doesn't require as many resources to deflect, even if you aren't sure it's a proxy Stargate. Obviously, proxy Twilight Council doesn't really make a lot of sense, but, you know, eventually they could get to a Dark Shrine, I suppose. Very uncommon in the professional meta. You're basically you're most scared of a robo. Now, this hallucination coming out from the Sentry in 15 seconds is going to be, I mean, technically right on time for the scout, but that's not going to give you a lot of time to prepare. Obviously, you've already chosen your technology, for instance. And if you knew for a fact that it was a proxy robo, perhaps you would have gone into something like a Stargate instead of a Twilight Council or your own robo. Twilight Council just doesn't actually impact your defense until that blink is actually done, which is quite a ways away. So it can be extremely difficult. I believe this Nexus is a goner, but if you can cancel it, then that's all right. The block of that one Adept, it's just one, but the high ground vision also is a useful tool. And the Immortal is just walking on up here. No Warp Prism necessary, going for speed over safety. Loses one Stalker off the bat, will not grab that pylon. Good pro pull here from Krystianer, very appropriately timed. Almost gets a second Stalker of Harstem's. Harstem does now have the Warp Prism, and that pylon is lower, but a backup pylon is at least powering one of the gateways. I'm actually not sure about the second one. I'm going to assume it's okay. But I'd say most importantly, it's helping to power a shield battery. Now, the gateways might be a goner eventually anyway. There's one thing that this army could continue to attack, but it's actually trying to attack up the ramp. Even with the shield battery helping out there, it can be scary, especially when that second Immortal comes out. These Stalkers could absolutely still get burned down. Probes are lost in the probe pool, as well as an Adept actually shading through and getting one or two more. We got some Sentries from Harstem being warped in. Now, this could cleave off a couple of units, of course, but then more importantly, and probably the actual intention is to delay any aggressive move out from Krystianer. Good old force field locks them into their base. You got yourself a successful contain, which means you actually might be able to successfully expand off of something that, you know, certainly is dedicated. But having canceled Krystianer's Nexus, kept them contained on one base, that's pretty much what you gotta do to say, I got enough damage done, plus he killed 7 probes. Now, Krystianer will have Blink, and this is the benefit of getting to a Twilight Council if you are gonna be robo-attacked, is that eventually that Blink will finish, if you haven't died, and he hasn't. And then you have a lot of map control. You have the possibility of counter-aggression as well, going for basically your own all-in. And then there's been some goofy PvPs where, you know, the Robo cancels the Nexus, then the Blinkstalker counterattack cancels the other Nexus, and then, you know, you stay on one base for an extended period of time. It can be weird. Lovely Hallucinate Immortal there from Harstem, just making sure that, yeah, there's a chance that it gets focus fired, I suppose, or if it just soaks up damage, that's good too. Clearly, Harstem knows everything with its observer, so he saw the Twilight Council and knew that Blink was going to be on the way, is trying to gauge exactly how long he can stay over on this side of the map, and he actually just predicted, well, not even really predicted, honestly, he just scouted it. The observer literally saw everything. So he moves his army to counteract that Blink on the low ground, which was hoping to have a little bit more room. If the army was still over there going like, oh, everything's fine, and the Stalkers had plenty of room to recharge that Blink, and that could have been different, but things are not going well for Krystianer. Nexus is canceled. Harstem realizes that army must be going somewhere. Recalls back home. Perfect execution so far from Harstem, honestly. Krystianer not finding any surprises. And that, yeah, that's going to be it. Yeah, GG's. Game number 2 is going to be on hard lead in the bottom right directions. It is Shopfire Rebellion's Harstem. And at the top left, it is Blazer's Krystianer. I don't know what's that. It's your cat's screaming, but for once it's not my cat. So, we have Harstem winning game number 1 pretty easily with that proxy robo. I mean, not to discredit Krystianer's attempts to defend, but sometimes PvP do be like that. It does look like that. And Krystianer's only hope was to try and get some of that Blinkstalker action on the low ground so that he could actually use their micro. And with Harstem's observer seeing that exact movement, it was zipped in the bud. Not that, you know, Krystianer necessarily wins, even if his Stalkers do have more free reign. But, yeah. I'm actually not sure what else he was really supposed to do there. You know, he can't kill the observer, so even if he's, you know, he was most likely aware that that was going to be a thing. He maybe even zoomed in and was like, yep, that's an observer. All right, cool. There's only so much you can do to hide your Stalker presence, you know? You could have gone all the way around your base, but then the lack of Stalkers on the front ramp would have been obvious. So then what, you blink down into the awaiting arms of what looks like 3 immortals, and again you might even know, like, I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't have gone for the 3rd immortal. You could know for a fact, but the AI is not going to work with you and show you which one's in a hallucination. So there's a 1/3 of a chance that you're going to focus fire on the wrong one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was just screwed. Yeah. So the problem then, right, is that if you do show a potential weakness to a proxy robo, they might just do it over and over and over again. And that is exactly what For Instance Mana did, as I mentioned during the break. But it's not going to be the case here. Harstem going for something different. He is going to go for a really not proxied Stargate. I mean, this is on his side of the map. So he's going for hidden units and a little fake zealot too. That's nice. It's a fake 2nd unit to give the illusion that you've afforded 2 adepts or 2 stalkers, or even a stalker sentry opener, when actually you have gone for that Stargate, which takes up your resources. So that's cute too. But yeah, you're going for the assurance that it's not going to be scouted over the actual powerful timing of the Oracle being like 20 seconds faster even. And so Krystianer, you know, his first worry might be that he is being proxy roboed again, because he just lost to it, and really one of the easier games that Harstem would have had recently. So that's your first concern. And then your second concern, well, unless you scout it, is in fact that it's going to be a proxy Stargate. And, well, when you scout it, that makes things a lot easier. So this still ensures that Harstem doesn't ever lose the Stargate, which is another good thing about it being so far away. You know, you just... There's no way that Krystianer is going to take the time to move over there. An Adept Harstem getting in. He has been liking this Adept Stalker opener too. I didn't mention that last game, but... Did he do it last game? Yeah, he had that one Adept. That's right. Yeah. So he's done it twice in a row. But this was kind of like a skillless only thing for a while, and Harstem seemed to like it too. It does give you that scouting. It just takes away the possibility of one-shotting probes should your adepts get into the main base. This Oracle is going to try and do the damage instead, but 3 Stalkers really is enough against the Oracle. It's not a concern, and then eventually a shield battery will be added on, and Harstem, well, very well could go for double Oracle. That would further delay any progression in the PvP, I suppose. Could be worth it. 2 Oracles definitely capable of getting a lot of damage done. But then that delay in your Twilight Council, delay on your Blink, and then the delay on your 3rd base that could happen eventually, and so on and so forth, might not be worth it. The Oracles only managed to find 4 probes instead of 8 or something. So 1 Oracle it is, into Blink. So Harstem's is not that far behind. His natural finally finishing up. Krystianer's was faster, already getting a chrono into its 2 times probe reduction. So Krystianer, so far, in the better position. Much better position. Up 5 workers, 4.5, whatever you want to call it. Faster Blink as well, doesn't have to worry about being attacked directly. At least for not a little while. We do have a proxy gateway coming up from Harstem, so his plans could be to warp in consistently and then hit with, yeah, later Blink, but if it's still more units, the more power to you. Because Krystianer might be planning on going for a 3rd Nexus, delaying more warp-ins, and already he has delayed warp-ins, I believe. No, I'm totally wrong. Still has 9 Stalkers, actually. So he's not really delayed Stalkers so much. His 3rd Nexus comes down, and the Robo. That's why I was thinking he might have less Stalkers, so 7 instead of 9, basically. But nope. Nope, able to afford everything, plus that probe production. He is moving along here swimmingly. So Harstem's going to really have trouble actually getting a jump on Krystianer, because while, yes, he does have 3 gateways with that proxy gateway up and running, it's not exactly super proxied. It's 1 more Stalker, which might not be enough to overpower properly positioned Stalkers up against a shield battery, which Krystianer is getting at his 3rd base. And time is a-ticking. Krystianer also having that Robo means that he could get the Observer to maybe scout the attack. He's not going to do that, but he's also getting an Immortal right behind it, and that would obviously do well, helping to defend. Now we're at a 13v13 Stalker situation with that shield battery helping out. Perfectly timed defense from Krystianer. Harstem, as I was saying, time was ticking, might have missed the opportunity to overpower. I'm not even sure that's true. I mean, he might have missed the opportunity to kill the shield battery before the Stalkers reacted. But even as he finally gets that shield battery down, the number of Stalkers is very similar. I guess the other thing is that a lot of the time, Stalkers will be back at home, in the main or the natural, or both, deflecting this Oracle, which Krystianer did have, but 3 Stalkers away from the front lines was not enough for Harstem to overpower. 2 Adepts do get into that natural base. The Oracle was able to scout that was defenseless, so that's a little bit of damage done. Still not making up for the probe deficit, and don't forget that 3rd Nexus deficit. It's almost an entire Nexus behind, I believe. So Krystianer making all the right moves, playing a more macro PvP, but keeping in mind all the possibilities of dying before he gets settled on that. So having that shield battery appropriately timed to help out the slightly lower number of Stalkers, because you have to defend that Oracle as well. He does lose 7 probes overall right now, by the way, but it still doesn't match up probe count. He's getting to Immortals, which is really going to help him, and he's still very much directly Stalker versus Stalker battles. And moves on to upgrades a little bit faster, too. So he's got that Forge powering up a little bit faster than Harstem's, but then charged so far much faster as Harstem has yet to add that on. Harstem might recognize a not desperate situation, I suppose, but a poor situation, and try and do something a little bit tricky, like add on a faster Dark Shrine. I haven't seen many people try and go for faster Disruptors. Really, I think the age of that has come and gone, but Dark Shrine coming a little bit faster. I think we have certainly seen some Protoss do that either out of desperation or because it's just their playstyle. Not Harstem. Still just moving along at the same progression. There we go. The same pathway as Krystianer, just a little bit slower, unfortunately. Not that much so on the upgrades, but on the economy, especially as Harstem loses 5 workers after still not having caught up to Krystianer. I mean, Krystianer just has more money to afford things. It's simple as that, right? 4th Nexus on the way for Krystianer, almost halfway done. He's adding on a bunch of gateways as well, going to be up to 9 very soon. Plus 1 attack is going to finish faster for Krystianer. Actually, I think it looks like it put more chronos into that, so it's about 20 seconds faster than Harstem. Not that I think Harstem is really gung-ho about attacking anyway. He's just looking for opportunities, any opportunity that can present itself. One thing that Harstem has done Perhaps out of realizing that he needs to cut some corners, or that he can cut corners, either one, both, is that he has delayed his robo pretty significantly. So that's some cash in his pocket for other things. Not that I don't necessarily think it's been all that helpful, but, you know, it's could have, maybe. Not in this game. In this game, it actually just led to a weakness. An observer has been scouting Harstem's movements this entire time, and now Krystianer's pretty sure he can go for the attack. We do have some adepts trying to be a bother on Krystianer's side of the map, but Krystianer is going for the throat. Shield Batter's trying to come up here for Harstem, but they are not done yet. One is, and an overcharge is going to be worth its weight in gold, especially as the target fire messes up initially. But it looks like this is just simply too many Protoss units on the side of Krystianer. Zealots coming in as well. Very obnoxious for the Stalkers to take on. Harstem actually with some charge left of his own finally. Started to look like maybe there's something there, but don't forget he's also pulling probes. So 16 probes go down, almost matched by Harstem's adept pressure. But again, the army supplies just too damn different. Perhaps if Harstem had all 3 shield batteries up and ready to go, maybe that would have been enough, because this got awfully close. And with the adepts doing almost the same amount of damage, almost being the key word, maybe this could have gone somewhere. But Harstem, he pulled all of his probes, and he's lost the entire army, so nothing going for him. Krystianer really leading that PvP right there. Third map's on Alcyone in the top right. It is Shopfire Rebellion's Harstem. Bottom left, we have Blazer's Krystianer. I was just looking at a Lilac, and they have only played 7 series in their entire history. And the last time they played was almost 2 years ago. Very odd. I would have figured they would have played a lot more than that, being 2 stable European Protosses. I would say around the same level, too, honestly. Harstem's been getting some bigger W's and more shocking results as of late, but... And, you know, I think it's had just generally more spikes. He's also had more eyes on him. I think Krystianer has had a couple of surprising runs himself, but, you know, surprising runs being in, like, a lower bracket, still getting knocked out in the round of 20 or something, and then taking down a guy like a ringer, I don't actually know, but, you know, for instance, like that, but then in, like, an unimportant match or something. Just, like, less eyes on him in general, so, yeah, I think most people would say that Harstem is playing better lately, and I think that might be true, but overall, I feel like they are both, as far as their actual performances go, kind of just in that mix of Protoss players in the European region. If you ever watch regionals, you'll see the standout Zergs and Terrans, and then you'll see just a horde of Protosses that will constantly be beating each other senseless. And you can't really... There's some ways of determining who's a little stronger in PvP or who's stronger overall. Sure, there are stats for that, but it's kind of like a free-for-all down there. So the fact that they haven't played in that many years is really shocking to me. So that also would mean that they're not really, I suppose, super familiar with each other's styles. Now, they should be probably a part of, like, Protoss groups. And they should be able to, obviously, look at each other's games, and I'm certain that they have, especially when either one of them have that pop-off performance. You know, like, oh, Harstem beat Raynor recently, let me go check that out. Yeah, of course, but I suppose as the intimate, you know, 1v1s go, unless they actually know they're playing each other on ladder, which is never a guarantee with barcodes. Yeah, they wouldn't know. But PvP is PvP, and PvP is just, you know, lul's so random, kind of. It could be 3-gate robo, even from a guy who's not known as being a cheeser, because that's just PvP, and Harstem's not known for being a cheeser. Yet he did start this match off with a 3-gate robo that was very successful. Has not decided to do it again. He kind of played off of it in game 2, which could have been a really awesome idea, so it didn't work. Krystianer immediately scouted a very timidly placed Stargate that was supposed to be main thing, not scouted. It's one of the reasons you put it so far away from your opponent's base. But it was, and so that kind of ruined all of Harstem's plans, and there really was a slow, undramatic snowball, but nonetheless a snowball from there as Krystianer led the game. He was making those greedier steps, sure, but the steps that would ensure his victory the longer the game went, provided he didn't mess up. And he didn't mess up. So Harstem might acknowledge that and be like, okay, all right, so I don't think you're gonna, you know, cheese me or attack me super aggressively, and if you're not gonna do that, then maybe I can get ahead actually in a macro game. Obviously, if I don't try and do anything tricky, then I don't have to fall behind by nature of my own build order, rather by my execution. And actually, you kind of see that in effect right now. Much faster Twilight Council. I should have been at the cost of a couple of early game units. Because the probe count's similar, it's the early game unit count that's a little dissimilar. So another sentry, one less stalker. Seems to be the majority of the difference. Yeah, but it seems to have been enough. Now, the blink's timing is not really all that different, so I don't know if it's really going to be the most important thing. But if this continues on in this direction, it's going to be Harstem more so leading Krystianer, and then the other way around, which is what it was in the last game. Harstem realizing he was falling behind, trying to do some damage, unsuccessful, trying to do damage, unsuccessful, trying to do damage, unsuccessful, and then just getting overpowered. So now it's the reverse scenario, unless Krystianer can do something. But Krystianer might actually be playing too much to a point where he hopes that that mid-game favors him. You know, the kind of cautious macro game, which saved his life in game 2. Playing cautiously into a macro game when someone is looking to try and attack you with the proxy, well, hidden Stargate, with the 3 gateway, proxy gateway attack on Blink Stalkers, like that's a reward right there. But if someone's playing greedier than you when you're playing middle of the road, they are getting the benefit. And that, I think, is what's happening right now, as Harstem delayed his robo. Not as much as last game, but he did, in favor of that third Nexus. And that is, I think, the really only big difference was the robo change-up. Krystianer going for it first and foremost, gets an observer, feels nice and safe, that's great, but his third Nexus is farther behind. Otherwise, the Stalker and general unit count, I should say, really not all that different. Krystianer has 2 Adepts, I think, that would be sharking around for a main base attack soon. And there they go, but unless they actually find some, critical damage, he's just falling behind. I do like this. I do love this. Krystianer going for a little bit of a pokey poke at the front. That's not what I love. What I love is that he's going for a really fast 4th Nexus, actually kind of double expanding. His 3rd's not quite done yet, because he has fallen behind. He has done a bit more of the cautious play compared to Harstem. And Harstem, might have gotten bopped by a 2-base Dark Shrine, but he was saying that's not something I'm expecting. He did have hallucinations. Both of them had the possibility of hallucinations, so unless it was a really cleverly hidden Dark Shrine, yeah, Harstem would not have been upset about delaying that robo. His 4th base is now going to be a little bit slower because Krystianer has finally taken hold of the reins a little bit, decided, you know what, you're being a little bit greedy, time for me to do so as well. But now we're also into a positioning game, which it seems that Krystianer, was very close to losing out on. That shield battery getting sniped before his other stalkers arrive could have been a problem, but I think he still would have had the pro pool, which would have hurt his economy that's already been hurt, but a warp in or 2. I mean, I don't think that would have been game ending, right? Harstem does not have a warp prism, does not have a proxy gateway, and does not have all intent on killing Krystianer, so he's getting his own Nexus, then his 4 gateways. Both players really now hitting a very similar stride, as they both match up on the probes. The upgrades, very much in favor of Harstem. Krystianer's Forge, I swear, was not that far behind. So, must have started differently, or a lot more chronos went into Harstem's. As he slaps on another Crowbow, he might have wanted to pair that up with a +2 start. There we go, yeah. That will ensure his victory in the upgrades. He continues to chrono, too. It could be a substantial victory. Charge is on the way now for Harstem, but Krystianer was way faster getting to charge. Now, it's only going to matter if he actually has charge lots to use. He has 11 of them. Recall comes through. That's not the entirety of Krystianer's army, but that could have even almost been like a trap if Harstem had stayed around, because the Zealots were coming up behind. Now, Krystianer going for a lot more Zealots than Stalkers. This is going to give him more of a one-punch army. And Harstem, with a lot more Stalkers than Zealots, is going to have a more flexible army, one that can micro a lot better. Now, this is going to matter a lot when Harstem is allowed to micro to his fullest extent. It's going to matter a lot less if Krystianer just swarms him with the Zealots. I mean, God forbid Harstem gets totally surrounded. Don't think that's going to happen. But if he's up against a wall, his Stalkers don't really have all that room to micro. And here we go. Krystianer going for this plan, hoping to actually get him to win here. He is getting into that +2. He does have a good probe count, but really, this is quite dedicated. The Stalkers have found themselves into a nice position, honestly, kind of using as much of a choke as possible with Harstem's own SimCity. No shield batteries was a bit of a problem for Harstem, but apparently not big enough of one. More Zealots coming in for Krystianer, however, does still make me a little concerned. A nice hold position from the probes. Excellent use of the probes. Could have just continued to attack move with them and lost way more for not a good benefit there, but instead puts them back to mining. Only now matched up on the probe count, and Harstem still down an army supply, might get time to build that shield battery, which he actually desperately needs. Krystianer, just relentless with the Zealot reinforcements, is looking to overwhelm Harstem here in game number 3. It's dangerously close. Supplies dead even, but Harstem's shield battery is about to finish with an overcharge as well. He will absolutely win the fight, and Krystianer is running out of time. Harstem's +2 also finished at one of these fights as well. A big boon to him. Shield battery overcharge is going to be sniped, so it did not last a very long time. Let's see if the amount of time it did last is enough for Harstem to hold on. Krystianer, he knows that he's behind if this does not work out. He's behind on the upgrades primarily, which maybe is overcomeable. He could maybe take a breath, try and recover this game, play even to a faster 6th base, but that was an attack that was hoping to win the game. Instead, Harstem does make that hold a lot more difficult because he never got a safety shield battery. If there is a shield battery in the back here, nice and safe with an overcharge that entire fight, forget about it. Like, that first fight is probably overwhelmingly in favor of Harstem, actually, with the protected shield battery, because he had some good positioning. But unfortunately, that shield battery was on the front lines, was sniped. It did provide a little bit more of a choke for Harstem to use, which was nice, but it would have been nicer to actually have a shield battery. Now one's done. He has obviously deflected the attack, and the game will continue with Harstem having that lead in the +3 attack. Excellent. Fantastic. He's also trying to get to a gold base, so he might still hold on to a lead on the economy, even as Krystianer's actual 5th is faster over on a regular mineral, but rich Vespian. I'm actually not sure if the rich Vespian is better here than the rich minerals. Now, that is an interesting question. Then maybe I'm the only person asking. I feel like actually the minerals are better. Obviously, we know Protoss is a very gas-intensive race. I'm not so bad at casting as I don't know that. But usually that's when they're going for a lot of those high technology units in the other matchups, you know? So High Templars, Colossus, Disruptors. We're not in Disruptors yet. We could get there in PvP. That's absolutely the case. Sure. But no one's making any moves. Excuse me. No one's making any moves towards that. And then we could also have mass amounts of DT Warpins, which aren't as gas intensive as High Templars, but still pretty gas intensive. But we're not there yet either. No one has a Dark Shrine. So even though this might still be very Stalker heavy for Harstem, whereas Krystianer still is adding on more Zealots than his opponent, I'd still say you don't need that much gas for it. Well, we'll find out. We'll continue watching these battles unfold with the different economies, slightly different, just literally in the choices of where they're putting their riches, I suppose. But right now I'm seeing a fight that looks like it's going favorably for Harstem. Another Warp Prism sniped. He grabbed the first one as Krystianer didn't unfold it and bring it back home. One Immortal is very helpful, especially if Harstem is going to continue primarily focusing on the Stalkers, but you can see now that he's added in his own powerful number of charge lots. He's got that +3 attack. Krystianer's not that far away from finishing. He could have that finish for this battle, which he would really love to happen. Immortal, however, not going to be a part of the fight. Harstem going for that snipe, also baiting kind of the overcharge. Maybe not a bait, actually, as Krystianer is going to go ahead and just jump for it anyway. Shield battery overcharge, be damned. Thinks that he has a moment, but I'm not sure that he does. Despite having equal upgrades, the actual Stalker count, I believe, was favorable to Harstem. Yes, by 11. So running in after that army fight, not exactly what Krystianer was, hindsight 2020 wanted to do. I think he realized a little bit too late, was able to retreat, but I'm not even sure that's really true. I think Harstem is just biding his time, waiting for the Warp Prism, waiting for more reinforcements. He knows that he won that most recent fight. He's got double upgrades still on the way, while Krystianer's only working on a single forge. And Harstem is dangerously close to winning this game. If he can find Krystianer out of position, take out any protective shield battery, then I think that'll be the game right then and there. And even better if there's not a shield battery to begin with. There is not one over on Krystianer's 4th base, and he hasn't realized it either. He's not trying to sneak one in before the attack actually happens. He's trying to stop Harstem from getting the best possible angle on the fight, which is better than nothing, but shield battery's still pretty good, I gotta say. Adept's going for some harassment is annoying, and that is the entire mineral line not mining, as Krystianer is not maxed out yet. He does need that income, trying to come in from two different directions, but Harstem has those double upgrades finished up, +1 armor and shields, trying to make this the battle for him to win, but those zealots coming from the north side of Krystianer were a surprise to Harstem, who might not have enough flexibility to actually get out of here. So many zealots just overwhelming the stalker count of Harstem, not enough blinks available. He's back to his Warp Prism, which will not be targeted by the remaining stalkers of Krystianer. That goes down, and Krystianer making the hold happen with the sheer number of zealots. The zealots jumping on top of Harstem's aggressively placed stalkers was the key there. Otherwise, Harstem had a bigger supply and an upgrade advantage. 2 upgrades. +1 armor only just recently finished for Krystianer. Harstem, don't doubt him for thinking that was going to be the move, but Krystianer coming in with so many zealots, making sure to come in from 2 directions as well, really saved his butt right there. He's got back to mining on his 3rd base, not that there's very much to do. He does have the Rich Vespian Geyser, which, I was thinking, do you need more gas? But I guess actually in this case, you just use it to, change up the number of probes necessary for gas, which I should have thought of, but that's what he's done here, although he's now wrongly saturated the gas geyser. But yeah, he has less probes and gas, so while he's down by 5, he actually might still be mining a tad bit more in the minerals. That's exactly what's happening, so should consider that next time. And the gas geysers of Harstem, obviously, still running, so no problems there yet, but once they do become defunct, suddenly you have 0 gas. That's going to be an issue. And this game is getting kind of chaotic, so I'm more worried about that now than ever. Now I'm more worried about Krystianer Stalkers as they get a little surrounded right there. Krystianer thought he had a pathway into the natural, but there is an observer hanging over this particular pathway. Krystianer forced to flee, but back to a base. Wait, when did this base isn't just building. This is done. This is the shield battery. This is overcharge. And Krystianer is going to take the fight, but I don't think he's going to win it. That is so many units with good upgrades from Harstem. And as the zealots deplete, Harstem's stalker count is way better than Krystianer's. But Krystianer also has zealots dealing some economic damage to his opponent. 13 probes do go down. Obviously, Harstem could have less probes mining minerals as he has a gold base, but he actually had more workers than his opponent. Now down by 10. Will he stay there? Will he replace them? 100% he's replacing them. 100%. 6 probes at a time. Still getting those double upgrades as well, by the way. Upgrades have evened up, and actually at this particular moment are favorable to Krystianer as he comes in with +2. Finally, there it is. Done now. He's also replaced the majority of his army with stalkers, so no longer as zealot heavy, which we saw the benefits of being zealot heavy on this side of the map, and the double-edged sword of zealots, them being bad on this side of the map, going up that choke against the overwhelming number of stalkers. That's when the zealots do get out microed, simple as. Now, the stalkers of Krystianer are looking for an opportunity, but Harstem is really on the ball here. The observer is giving him all the information, so throwing it back to that first game. Very different scenario, but observer, sights, vision, very, very critical in this game, and something that Krystianer might not have picked up on. He finally has his own observer, which really should be tagging along the main army, especially because DTs could be making a appearance, well, literally right now, actually. All right, there it is. Perfectly timed. Krystianer with 2 observers, no cannons anywhere to be seen. All the observers in the wrong spots. Harstem's Dark Shrine is going to be perfect. Killing so many probes, huge distraction, killing the economy as well. The production as well. And Krystianer was going to try and make a move over into Disruptors. That could have been great, especially with his very aggressive stance. He has been on Harstem's side of the map this entire time, but he might not be getting there. Disruptors might be a vision of the future here that he cannot get to. Harstem is losing the battle temporarily on his front lines, but more warplanes are coming in. His DTs are still being a bother. The Warp Prism's still flying around. It is unpowered upgrades, unpowered gateways, destroyed an entire 3rd base nexus. Now, Krystianer still has a lot of mining, and Harstem is the one that has to expand, but Harstem has now 30 army supply advantage, 20 army supply advantage. He is going to be pushing up against Krystianer's static defense, which really Krystianer needs to be using. There we go. So Krystianer might not fold here, but he really should have been using the shield battery even longer. He did not pull back fast enough, probably because he was once again distracted. DTs and Zealots and Stalkers coming into the main base, canceling both of Krystianer's upgrades, and Krystianer has just lost the plot here. He was playing a fabulous, fast expand, overwhelming gateway type of style. He was piling on the aggression. He was going to transfer over into Disruptors, and again, if you get those Disruptors on the front line, when your opponent's purely defensive, that is the best time to get into Disruptors. But instead, DTs ruined all of his chances. Harstem really digging in, by the way, when he realized that there was going to be a problem there. He didn't just go for 4 DTs and go, oh, never mind. He had a bit of a bank. He was fine defending with the army he had back at home, so he kept on pushing that DT warp in button. And expanding as well, so it's not like he's falling behind too much on the resources, even as he was denied a base and is losing access to his gold, just running out, right? Now, Krystianer is absolutely right not to tap out, but he has lost his 3rd base, he's lost his 6th base, and the only thing that can save him were a couple of really, really good Disruptor hits. But they can save you. Crazier things have happened in PvP. But, you know, 50 supply difference, that's going to be quite difficult to do. Some misrallied Stalkers that Krystianer has taken advantage of is a start, but still a 20 armor supply difference. If Harstem blinks away, that'll stay a 20 armor supply difference. Woof. Another Disruptor coming forward here. Blink, not quite off cooldown. 3rd Disruptor looking for a shot, but Blink should be available now. Not even really necessary. And that is going to be game. Without any Disruptor shots, he realizes that Harstem would pounce on him. Exactly what happened. And Harstem will win 2-1. And move over into the round of 16? Round of 8, actually.